What's going on, Bigger Pockets? It's Matt Faircloth. So a lot of people are getting involved in multifamilies these days, and that's because multifamilies can be very lucrative. And the way that multifamilies are lucrative now is in value add plays. So this is a value add play is where somebody buys a multi, okay, and let's say you buy it where your rents in the property are $700 a unit, okay, and that's the average rent. Okay, and then like, okay, $700 a unit, not bad, but the market's gone up. We've seen a lot of appreciation in rents in today's marketplace, and there's also a lot of older, dilapidated apartment buildings that are a little run down that maybe were built in the 70s or 80s or 90s and could use a facelift. Maybe they've been touched in 20, 30 years, and they could use a good facelift. And if you realize, I can get in there to that multifamily if I invest X amount of dollars a unit. And it's to talk multifamily person talk, you talk dollars a door that you're going to invest, you get rent bumps or whatever it is. However you get there, a value add play looks like you're going to invest a certain amount of money, and that could be, well, we'll talk about the renovations you can do, but you're going to take that $700 up to, let's say, 800, 850. Let's say the average rent bump is about $150. Let's say 850. He's like, well, geez, Matt, why would I go through all that just to make $150? Well, what's interesting was a multifamily, this $150 bump, right, is times however many units you have. So let's say this is on a 50 unit property times 12 months. That adds up quick. That can be a very, very lucrative increase here. And then you get into cap rates and things like that. Not to get too complicated on you guys, but this rent increase here flows back to my property value. That I can make my property worth more. Okay, quick numbers. Okay, if I increase my rent by $150 on a 50 unit property times 12 months. Okay, what I've done is I've increased my income on the property by $90,000. If I divide that 90 by a cap rate, because a cap rate is a correlation of the value of the property based on how much money the property makes after it pays expenses. Okay, that 90,000 creates a let's say a 7% cap rate. Okay, 7%. What I've done is I've increased the property value by 1.28 million. Okay. This video is not a numbers video. This is not a deep dive into numbers. What I'm showing you this for is why value add. Why people even do it. Okay, they do value add because they increase the property value by this, and they can recapture some of that through a refinance or recapture that through a property sale, whatever that may look like. All by raising your rent $150. Sounds pretty simple, but you're gonna you have to create an environment that your tenants that are currently paying you $700 on, that they're willing to pay you an extra $150 to get up to pay you $850 for that same unit in the same location that you're in, right? So what you have to do is create a good value add program. The question today is, how do you do multifamily renovations without causing much tenant disruption? Well, some of these things are easy, okay? Let's say I want to create an environment that tenants are willing to pay me $850 for. Well, the real easy stuff that I can do on renovating a multifamily property is I can do exterior reno. And tenants will love that. Like, they go home, they go to work in the morning, come back, and the exterior is painted, or you've built a playground for them on a larger apartment complex, or you put some window shutters on. Exterior renovations, and if your apartment building has some common area, meaning like hallways and things like that, renovating those common areas are pretty much things you can do without very much tenant disruption at all. So my recommendation to you guys, and what I've seen some of my very good friends do in multifamily real estate, is do the exterior renovations from Jump Street. Do it right when you get in, because you don't have to disturb tenants to do that. And tenants that live in your apartment complex that are already paying you $700 might see, geez, this guy's building, building a playground, or he's done these exterior renovations. They can create more pride of ownership for the property, or pride of tenancy for the property, let's say, and they might automatically, by you just doing some exterior renovations and cleaning the exteriors up to the property, they might be willing to pay you part of that $150 rent bump. The big investment that people make in multifamily is by renovating the units, okay? Now, the interior renovations of the units is where the challenge comes in, to where it's like, okay, well, my tenants live in the space right now. Like, how do you go and tear the place apart and put it back together and do things like new floors, new kitchens, new appliances? A typical interior reno on a basic apartment building upgrade could be a lot of things I just said. I'll say it again. cabinets, maybe you paint the cabinets, maybe you replace them, new appliances, let's see, new light fixtures, new sink fixtures and things like that that are all nice and better and more modernized, new flooring, just a general modernization facelift on an apartment unit. And you can spend anywhere from a couple of $1,000s to over $10,000 per unit for doing the reno. It all has to do with how much rent bump you're going to get for those changes that you're making. Here is how you do that without completely disturbing all your tenants. Because the first option you have is to disturb your tenants. And what that means by that is going to all your tenants and saying, hey, listen, we're going to be asking you to move, or we're going to go and go hardcore. And in certain states, you're allowed to do this. As soon as you take ownership, file eviction, and move everybody out, renovate the units, go a big bump on rents, and put new tenants into the property. That's kind of a regentrification play, kind of dropping the bomb on the place and renovating the whole thing and putting it back together again. The problem with doing that is, and again, this video is about without disturbing it, and it's maybe fairly obvious that you can think of if you go and throw all your tenants out, well, that's who's paying your rent. So for that 3 to 4 month period that it's going to take you to do your full gut renovation of all the apartments, you're not making any rent on the property. So you've got to be able to weather the storm if you're going to go with that model. If you'd rather keep your rents coming in while you're doing your renovations, then you want to do some of the plays that I talked about here. So the first one's pretty obvious, like I said. That's just tossing everybody out, going to full remodel on the property, and then letting new tenants come back in, or your old tenants, but they might have moved on down the road to somewhere else, letting people move back in into your fully renovated property. If you don't want to do that, you want to maintain rental income coming in during renovations, then here are a few options for you guys that I want you guys to consider, okay? Number one is you start to roll out the renovation. So let's say you've got a large enough apartment complex, or if this even works on a 4-family, you just do 1 unit at a time. You just roll it out. And that same concept works on a big 100-unit building. You just take little bite-sized chunks and do renovations in bite-sized chunks. And so let's say you'll have to do that with incentives. Okay? Incentive program might look like this. You go to, say, 10% of your population at a time and say, listen, Mr. or Mrs. Tenant, we're going to be renovating this unit. We'd like to offer you full refund of your security deposit, no questions asked if you're going to be moving out. We'd like to offer you a discount on your last month's rent. We'd like to offer you, if you really want to get crazy with it, a few dollars to get out of the property so they can move on, and give them some assistance to move to a new unit or something like that, if you're fully occupied. Because it's the problem a lot of landlords have is, I want to renovate this property, but I'm fully occupied. And I don't want to just wait till tenants move out. I want to start my renovation process so I can upgrade the property and create this scenario, right? Well, through incentives, you can get there. And those incentives, like I said, could look like any different benefit financially, likely, to your tenants. Once you've done your first iteration of properties, okay, you can go to the next option, which is the move option, okay? But not move out of the property, just move to a renovated unit, okay? And that could say, okay, once I've done, maybe you do an incentive program on the first iteration of units. Let's say 10 to 20% of the multifamily. And on a 4-family, that might be 1 to 2 units. On a 100-unit building, that might be 10 to 20% or 10 to 20 units. Once you've got those renovated, you go to the other 80 to 60% of the population, whatever it is, and say, hey, let's all get together and tour those ones that I just did. Aren't these great? Wouldn't you love to live in these nice renovated apartments with the playground I just put in and the exterior renovations? Isn't this wonderful? Wouldn't you love to pay me $850 a month? And maybe even you do it for $825, or just maybe give them a discount for the first couple of months if you want to do a blended incentive program, but you offer them the right to move into those renovated units. Now, I've seen landlords mandate that move, okay? We have tried it. It did not work out. But I've seen landlords come to their tenants and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Tenant, I see your lease is coming up. That's great. We'd love to maintain you as a tenant. So what we're going to be asking you to do is to move from where you live now to one of our renovated apartments, and you're going to be paying this as our new rent, or you can move out of the complex. And get out of the complex altogether. In most states that's legal, and some states it's not. In some states you have to offer that tenant the right to stay in their apartment. Which if that's the case, you want to go with the incentive play and have them move out on their own on their own volunteer, okay, through a deal that you strike with them through an incentive, okay. You cannot force them to move out in certain states. Certain states you can. You need to look to your state law to see if you can do that. The move option works, but just be careful, because I've seen it backfire on people, backfired on us, because what we did was we started doing that. Hey, we're renovating and we're increasing rents a lot, and we were doing a big rent increase on the apartment complex, more than $150. And the tenants saw what we were doing, and they knew, and word gets out. These tenants talk to each other, and word got out and how much more we were going to be charging for the renovated units. And they said, well, I don't want to have to be mandated to move into a new unit. I'll just move now. So when the word got out that's what we were doing, we lost like 20% of our population like that. So we no longer do the mandatory move option. We do some incentives to create some vacancy, okay, if we need it. We offer them the option to move, but we also let them stay in their own apartment through a third option you guys can try, which is called the menu option. Okay, and this is something I came up with. I've seen other landlords do it. I haven't seen it done exactly like we do it, so I'll give it to you guys. This is for free. This is just something that we do in our apartments. So pay close attention. Here's how the menu option works. Okay, let's say, I'm gonna switch over to this side. Let's say a tenant lives in one of your units and their lease is coming up. You can say, listen, you can move if you want, but I'll let you stay right here in your own apartment, and I'm only going to ask for a small rent increase, but in exchange for that rent increase, I'm going to create a better unit for you. So in exchange for, like, I know that my new units are going for $150, for the brand new spanking units are going for $150 more than what you're paying right now. But I'm only going to ask you for $50 more, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Tenant. And in exchange for that $50, what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to give you a menu. You get to pick one of these 4 things off the menu. And the menu could look like, let's say, I will replace your appliances. You know, I will, and this sounds challenging, but you can make it happen if you talk to the right flooring company. I will change out your floors to laminate vinyl plank flooring, or change it out to something that's a newer model of floor if they got old ripped up carpet that's got stains on it. Maybe you're willing to change out that flooring for them while they're at work. And there's some logistics they'll have to do. Move some of their stuff, maybe not move everything out, because if you pick the right flooring company, you can change out flooring on an occupied apartment. It's got to be a flooring company that's willing to do it with the right movers and with the right logistics and everything like that. Okay. Again, don't let anybody tell you it can't be done. It can be done with, money can make anything happen. So with enough money, you can move their furniture around and change out their flooring for them over a day or 2 process. Okay. Other incentives we've done for the menu is change out all your light and your sink fixtures. We'll give you a small, like a reasonable kitchen upgrade. If you can swing in the unit logistically, I'll give you a washer dryer hookup. If you don't have a washer dryer hookup with the unit already, I'll give you a spot to put a washer dryer. Maybe you would rent the washer dryer from me, or maybe you rent it from a third party. Maybe you go out and buy your own washer dryer, but I'll give you a place to connect it in your unit. These are all options you can give tenants under a menu. Okay. Now let's run the numbers real quick. Because you're like, Matt, why would you do that? Let me tell you. Let's say the rent bump that I want is $50. Okay. Well, $50 times 12. Is $600, okay? And I'm not going to transpose the whole thing over here, because maybe I do some full-on units on this side and I do some menu options on this one. So with the menu upgrade, I get $600 a year, okay? With the things I talked about, I'm not investing enormous amounts of money. I'm not investing, $5,000, $10,000. My goal is to do a menu item for $2,000 or less. I can get an appliance set with a dishwasher installed for $2,000 or less. I can get, believe it or not, if I just do the flooring, I forgot to mention this, but if I'm doing flooring only in the common area, so only in the hallways and in their living room and maybe in their kitchen. Those are the only places I'm doing the flooring. I'm not touching their bedrooms. I do a transom strip and I let the carpet stay in their bedroom the way that it is, okay? I can do that option for around $2,000 as well, but if you target around $2,000 for a $50 rent increase on the menu, that equation works. Let me tell you why. I'm getting $600 more in rent for a $2,000 investment. That is a great return on investment. Not a good, that is a great return on investment. That's 30% on my money. That's really good. Okay, that's meaning I invest $2,000, I get $600 back every year. Now here's what else happens. This tenant that selected the menu option eventually moves out. Life changes, whatever it is, things happen. I've got a unit, and if I'm smart with my menu options, the menu options are a portion of what I'm doing here. right? Maybe this is a kitchen, flooring, light fixtures, and a washer dryer, okay? All those things are included to get to that $850. Well, if I give the tenants each of those choices for $50, all I gotta do when this tenant moves out is I gotta do the other 3 things, right? And you can also let them pick, well, do you want 2 of those things? Well, sure, give me $100 a month in rent, you know? At some point, it starts to make sense for them to just move into that unit, but they may want to just stay where they are. That is the menu option. That is the best way to renovate multifamily without tenant disruption. We're doing it in several of our apartment complexes now, and it's working out really well. What's great about this is this does not have to be done in a 200-unit apartment building. This could be done in a duplex. This could be done in smaller units as well. You can just go to your tenant in a duplex today when their lease comes up and say, hey, listen, would you like ceiling fans in your bedrooms and in your living room? Maybe some ceiling fans in your living rooms and your bedrooms, maybe some new sink fixtures, and maybe new countertops, new granite-looking countertops in your kitchen. Maybe not granite, but countertops that look like granite. Would you be willing to do that? Would you like that? Because I can give you all those things for only $25, $50, $75, whatever you think the cost is going to be. You have to figure that out. But you can create a great return on your investment and create a win-win for your tenant. Because here's the thing. Your tenant gets a great unit that's got some upgrades to it for only $50 more per month. You get something that'll create more pride of tenancy for them as well. This is how you do it. This is how it's worked out for us. There's no right or wrong here. The menu works. The incentives work too, and the move to another unit works as well. We tend to find that a hybrid of these 3 is really what works best for us when we're renovating an apartment complex. I hope this helps you guys. Please, if there's other thoughts that you guys have had, I'd love to hear strategies for people have for renovating apartment buildings. So please leave it in the comment section below. I'd love to have a chat with you guys about it. I'd love to hear what you guys have done that works for your units, or just let me know I blew your mind. If you want to let me know that, I'd love to hear that too. I'd love to hear from you guys. So please comment. Have a great and profitable week.